This video contains full story spoilers for Humanity. If you haven't played it, I highly encourage you to do so, as it's become one of my favorite puzzle games, period. Note that I won't be spoiling any puzzle solutions, so if you don't mind story spoilers, then watch on. Also, this video, while scripted, isn't really thesis-driven. It's more of just my way of expressing some of my many thoughts on a game I really love. It's hard to know where to begin with a game as beautiful as Humanity. In fact, I've been laboring over how to start this video for weeks. Rarely have I played something so evocative, so immediately visually and sonically compelling that I found myself totally immersed in the game for its entire duration. Unlike with other immersive games I've played, playing Humanity constituted a sort of out-of-body experience, one in which I found myself questioning the nature of not just my own existence, but the existence of all human life on this planet. But in order to discuss what this game taught me about the people Humanity, it's important to understand what the game Humanity even is. Humanity is a 2023 puzzle game co-developed by THA Limited and Enhance. THA is a Japanese design firm, Humanity being their first major game project, though they've been doing graphic design work for years. Conversely, Enhance has been making games since around 2014 and has developed Res Infinite, Lumines Remastered, and most famously, Tetris Effect. It's worth noting that Enhance isn't strictly a game studio. It's focused on all kinds of interaction design, conducting scientific research and maintaining a synesthesia lab, a sect of the company devoted to the study of multisensory experiences. It's this broad approach to interaction design and focus on sensory input that have led to the creation of such immersive aesthetic experiences like the previously mentioned Res Infinite and Tetris Effect, and it has now resulted in the creation of Humanity. In Humanity, you play as a Shiba Inu who has been tasked by a group of mysterious deities with developing a new generation of humans after the end of the world. To do this, you must guide them to an end goal using a set of linear instructions, such as turn right or jump, through a series of increasingly complex levels. It's kind of like if Lemmings had a baby with the Parsons School of Design. Along the way, you must find Goldies, large, golden humans which act as the game's main collectibles and add extra optional challenges to each stage. Eventually, the player finds out the deities guiding them are mechanical cores, which the player then must destroy in order to create a human race capable of existing in a new world. I find it interesting that Humanity, despite its name, feels so removed from any human cultural identities. The game's minimalist visual aesthetic is cold and calculated, more inspired by computer interfaces than any existing culture. The soundtrack feels robotic as well and is entirely made up of droning, ambient, electronic music. This decision makes more sense once the player learns that the game takes place at the end of a world once despotically ruled by machines a past human civilization created, but the removal of cultural iconography serves a greater purpose beyond the game's narrative, because it forces the player to question what about us is essentially human. Without art, without music, and without even language, who are we? Humanity seems to propose that there are two key traits which define us as human, those being the human capacity for violence and the human capacity for collaboration. Let's start with the first trait, that being the capacity for violence. It is important to note that Humanity is divided into sequences, which are further divided into stages. The first three sequences of Humanity, Awakening, Choice, and Fate, are pretty laid back as the game allows the player to get accustomed to its rules and slowly introduces new mechanics. But it is the fourth sequence, Competition, which really raises the stakes. See, up until this point, the only objective of the game has been to lead a stream of humans toward an endpoint. But this chapter introduces the Others, a group of people which resemble humans but certainly aren't described as such. Like the humans, the Others walk from point A to point B, but more importantly, the Others also want to collect goldies. This shared interest over a scarce resource, that being goldies, expectedly creates competition and thus breeds animosity. The competitive exclusion principle of ecology states that two species which compete over the same scarce resource cannot coexist indefinitely. Though this law mainly applies to animals, we've seen it time and time again in humans, mainly through wars over land and natural resources like oil and gas. It seems fundamentally impossible for humans to ever coexist with the others because of their fight over goldies. In the 2023 Game Informer documentary, The Making of Humanity, Yugo Nakamura, the game's creative director, speaks of his fascination with instinctive human movement. To better define this concept, he talks about people moving in crowds and how, if a person gets too close, one will instinctively shove them away. This defensive and aggressive act is programmed into who we are. But what happens when this shove is replaced by, say, the firing of a gun? In the game's fifth sequence, titled War, the humans and the others develop swords and guns which they use against each other. Despite these advancements in technology, each group's attacks are still instinctive, not thoughtful. Sword-slinging humans throw themselves at others, slashing indiscriminately at anyone who dares violate their personal space. Guns are fired with this similar indiscrimination, once again aiming at anyone who seems to pose any kind of threat. Thus, humanity proposes that war is merely a symptom of a human combative or defensive instinct. But, as stated previously, humanity does not seem to understand a capacity for violence to be the sole defining feature of the human race. The game also places a lot of emphasis on the human capacity for collaboration. Many of the game's puzzles involve groups of humans pushing large blocks around, creating pathways for others to then reach the end goal. Take, for example, the level Missing Link, where multiple groups of humans must work in tandem to create a pathway to the goal point. Others feature weighted buttons, which require people to be standing on them in order to activate, like the ones in Goldie Arches, which spawn the platforms needed to reach the end goal. Levels cannot even be cleared unless a sizable amount of humans reach said end goals, thus necessitating some degree of collaboration. The game's hub world also features a large swath of humans, all delicately working in tandem to form different shapes as the story progresses. The humans of humanity have the capacity to be spatially aware and act in tandem when they are not crowding around the player character. So, if humans are inherently combative, but also inherently collaborative, where does that leave us? The former descriptor implies an inherent evil at the heart of man, but the latter implies an inherent good. I think humanity doesn't want us to view either trait as inherently good or bad, instead urging us to accept both of these opposing sides of ourselves. This is best seen in the game's final level, a beautiful marriage of combat and collaboration. By this point, all the player has left to do is defeat the Red Core. The Red Core is much larger than the other cores and has manipulated a massive number of humans to realize a new, shifting, corporeal form. It tasks the player with defeating it. The player charges at it, leading a small group of armed humans past a series of swipes. Once they get close enough, the humans begin to shoot at the core. And here lies the key moment of this fight, perhaps of the game as a whole. As the core is attacked, the humans under its control choose to leave it and join the player. Normally, humans only join the player after they are physically swept up and shoved around by a parade of their peers. But here, the humans choose. They make a conscious decision to join each other. This is remarkable because it's the first time humans make a conscious choice to help each other without any guidance from the player. The game is saying, we are not defined by our instincts. We are defined by our choices. This ability to choose is why only now the Red Core considers the game's humans to be fully developed. Yes, our combative nature can breed war, but it can also create competition, which drives us to be better. And our collaborative nature can allow us to help each other in times of need, but if we're not careful, we may end up moving the block which pushes hundreds into an endless abyss. The beauty of these two opposing instincts is made manifest in our ability to choose in each moment which one to obey, or to simply ignore both of them altogether. We, as humans, have the ability to constantly redefine ourselves. Isn't that just wonderful? Thank you for watching.